welcome back to another episode of Crinkles Corner. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you're all doing well. Right now, the weather here in the Pacific Northwest is so nice. It is so bright outside, which is a change from the constant rain we've been having. Let's get into it. Aubrey and Gloria Gibbons are a married couple from Barbados. Aubrey is in the military, so his job does have him moving around quite a bit. And his job would have him move to England in the 1960s. On April 11th, 1963, Gloria would give birth to two twin girls. Now, I don't know about you, but I've always been so curious and interested in twins. I have a sister that is a year older than me, and we tend to just butt heads a lot of the times. We have disagreements, we argue, we bicker, we fight. But I feel like twins, my opinion, and the little knowledge that I have about twins, I feel like it's different with them. They have a different connection and bond that both of them and only them understand. They understand you, your feelings, your emotions, without you having to really describe it in detail. They get it. It's like a built-in best friend and therapist. And so I think that's so fascinating about twins, that they have such a deep connection with each other that no one else really understands, knows, and gets. Now, the twins, June and Jennifer, their connection was different even from that of other twins. They were identical twins. And something interesting about them was that they both had a speech impediment. They both could understand each other clearly, but no one else could understand them at all. I'm not sure if this is common or not, but I have heard that some twins do develop a different language that only they can understand. So as they grew older, because of their speech impediment, they were always having to repeat themselves. They would have to speak up louder, speak slower, and having to constantly repeat what they were saying, which would get annoying and frustrating for the twins. So they thought, let's just not speak at all, because they were just so done with having to repeat themselves. They decided they weren't going to speak at all except to each other. And they would keep this silent for a very long time. They didn't even speak to their own parents. In 1974, the family would have to move again, and they would be relocating to Wales. June and Jennifer were now 11 years old. They were great students at school. They were well behaved. The only issue was they wouldn't speak. They wouldn't speak to their classmates. They wouldn't speak to their teachers. And this would lead the teachers to become very frustrated and impatient. It would also lead to June and Jennifer being very abused. They would be bullied. And at this time, they were the only two Black African-American girls in their school. So that heightened the bullying. So much so that their teachers would have to let them out of class 5 minutes early for them to get a head start on their commute home, to help prevent them from being chased and bullied. As the silence from the twins continued, their parents decided, we need to take them to a child psychologist. That's when they were diagnosed with something called selective mutism. It is a severe childhood anxiety disorder characterized by an inability to speak in specific social situations. It's like a frozen anxiety, and it's not by choice. It is by response, like your body's response puts you into this frozen anxiety state, which causes you to not speak. Even after they got this diagnosis, the teachers still didn't want to bother with them. They didn't want to take the time to understand and help them. They didn't want to take that extra effort and patience that Jennifer and June June would require. Aubrey and Gloria, the parents, decided to transfer them over to a special education school. And the teachers there were a lot more understanding, a lot more patient with the girls, and they were able to get one-on-one time with the girls. The teachers could see how smart June and Jennifer were. They noticed that the girls weren't actually speaking in their own made-up language. They were actually speaking English, but it was a very, very sped up version of English, which made it hard to understand, to the point to where they thought it was a made-up language. But they were actually speaking English. The teachers would go on to work with them and have them try to slow down the things that they were saying. And June and Jennifer were happy and felt comfortable, and they felt like there was progress and improvement. It was very helpful for June and Jennifer to have these teachers around. But once the school day was over and they would go back home, the silence would begin again. They would go into their rooms, close the door, isolate themselves, and just be with one another. Another interesting thing was that they had a younger sister, Rosie, that slept in the same room they did. They all shared a room, and they would talk to Rosie while she was in the room. But once Rosie grew older and moved into her own bedroom, they completely cut off communication with Rosie as well. June and Jennifer would do everything by themselves. They would eat meals together alone. And during school, obviously, since they couldn't sit and be alone together, they would just sit really close to each other. And when they were eating, they would notice that they were eating in unison. They would even walk in sync with each other. The strange thing was that they said this wasn't a choice for them to be in sync with each other and do everything together and go silent. This wasn't a choice. Both June and Jennifer loved writing. They were really good writers, and they loved writing in their journals. They kept these diaries, and in one of their diary entries, they wrote how they believed it would be a good idea if they were separated. That being separated would give them a good shot at a normal life. They felt they depended too much on one another, and it was hindering them, holding them back. And eventually they were separated. But this separation would be very hard on the twins. They would end up not sleeping, not eating, not doing anything at all. They were immobile. They were becoming catatonic. Catatonic is a severe disturbance in motor behavior, which is often associated with bipolar disorder, depression, and even schizophrenia. It was like they were unresponsive as a result of this separation. They couldn't do anything without each other. The parents decided the best thing to do for their health and safety right now is to bring them back together. And once they were back together, they went back to their normal routine, just each other, no speaking. They ended up purchasing a course online on how to better communicate. But unfortunately, these online courses were no help at all to the twins. I mean, after doing this for so long, I think the twins needed something more than just an online course. They would continue to write a lot. They would write lots of stories. They would fill up so many journals, and they were good at writing. And they decided to write books and publish them. But unfortunately, their books didn't see a lot of traction. Like, a lot of people were not gravitating toward their books. So it wasn't successful. And this would send the twins into depression. At the age of 16, the twins unfortunately started getting into drugs and making not so great decisions. One day they decided to just burn down this large store that was in their town. They would also start fighting with each other, which is strange because this whole time they were so close and they relied independent and only knew each other. It became a very toxic situation for them. They were angry at society and they decided to lash out at society, and that's why they burnt down this large store. One of the twins would go on to say that this was the best feeling she's ever felt. Burning down that store, it made her so happy. And she would also write in her diary that she wanted to keep doing this. But they would end up getting caught and they were put in jail. And at this point, they didn't really like each other. They were fighting with each other, but in jail, they were separated, which again was very difficult for the twins. They were completely immobilized. So then the people at the jail decided to bring them back together for their own health, for their own safety and well-being. Doctors knew that the twins needed professional help. Being in jail wasn't going to help them. So the twins ended up being sent to Broadmoor Hospital when they were 19 years old. Broadmoor was a mental health facility. And when the twins arrived, they were not happy at all to be there. They hated how crowded it was, and it would stress them out a lot. At this mental health facility, they were separated again, and they were allowed to write letters to each other. And in one of those letters, June would write to Jennifer and say she knew she was gonna die one way or another. And like, obviously, yeah, everyone's gonna die, but she knew that it would be sooner rather than later. Eventually, the girls did start to speak. It wasn't a lot, it was baby steps. You know, they were improving and they were communicating with others. And in their mind, they thought, okay, we're improving, we're talking, maybe they will release us soon. And every time their release would get declined on the grounds of them not being and fully rehabilitated to be able to enter back into society and contribute to society. Their court dates and their release would get declined time and time again. And that would go on for 12 years. It seemed as if everyone just wanted to keep them away inside this hospital because they were different. They were strange. They were seen as weird. A month before the twins turned 30, they were going to be transferred to a new mental health facility. While they were in the drive to the new facility, they were sitting in the back seat of a car, and Jennifer told June she wasn't feeling well. She didn't feel good at all, and she would go on to rest her head on June's shoulder. Jennifer would end up passing away. Upon arrival to the new mental hospital, they would end up taking Jennifer to an actual hospital to see what was going on, to help her. But it was too late. Jennifer was gone. The medical examiner would come out to say that the cause of Jennifer's death was acute myocardial, which is basically an inflammation of the heart. And it's actually really rare for someone to die of acute myocardial, especially at such a young age of 30 years old. There were no evidence of poisons, drugs, anything harmful in Jennifer's system. She basically died of natural causes. There was nothing that could explain her death. It's so strange, so crazy. She's 30 and dies of natural causes. June would go on to stay in this mental health facility alone, obviously, without her sister. She would write all about Jennifer and how she was relieved that her sister was gone. She felt free of Jennifer. She was like able to almost now start her life, be her own person.
After 12 years in captivity, is a feeling of total freedom. It's unbelievable that I'm actually going out in the big wide world doing normal things that normal people do. I've been locked up for so long. It's good. Feels good. I feel that I'm living for her. This is what she would have wanted, for me to go on living for her. And every day I wake up and say to myself, well, there's one more day for me, but one more day for my sister as well. And I live for her. And what I see and do, she does as well. She's not missing out on nothing because she's with me.
Isn't that quite a big responsibility?
It's a big responsibility, but it's making me stronger. Because the more I think about her, the more stronger I feel. The stronger I get. Knowing that she is lying somewhere and sleeping, and I'm still alive, I feel that's a privilege, really. I mean, am I lucky or something to be still alive when she's gone? I thought I'd never get over her death, but it's made me 10 times stronger to carry on for her sake.
Another crazy thing about all this is that June and Jennifer knew that they had to be separated in order for them to thrive and come out of their shell and fully be their own person, to be able to live a normal life like everyone else. They knew they had to be separated. On March 18th, 1994, June was released from the mental health facility. June now feels free, relieved. Jennifer's not there, hovering over her. June said that Jennifer's death had, in a way, made her stronger. It made her feel free. She was finally free. That is the story of June and Jennifer Gibbons, the silent twins. It's so crazy, so strange, because this whole time they were writing in their diaries, and they would both write that one of them had to go away. One of them had to pass away in order for the other one to be freed. I don't know if it was, they were just both doing what they thought was right by each other. I have to be with June all the time. I have to be with Jennifer all the time. I can only talk to June or Jennifer. I can only talk to June or Jennifer. I cannot talk to anyone else. I don't know if they felt held back by one another, and that they were doing these things just to please each other. I'm not sure. It took June so long to mourn her sister's death. And at the end, she felt free. She felt like she could be her own person, make her own decisions, do, say whatever she wanted. And it's such a sad story because one of them had to pass away, and because it took 30 years to finally feel free, to finally feel like June could be normal. I would love to hear and interact with y'all about what you think. Feel free to leave a comment. I love interacting with you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope to see you guys again next week for the new episode. Please take care of yourselves. Go outside, get some fresh air, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.